You're listening to the Luxe Life Discovered podcast, where we talk with people who are living a lifestyle that reflects their passion, because we believe everyone should be living their best life, their Luxe Life. The show is hosted by Rick Steiner with Steiner Event Group, a premier national event planning company, and co-hosted by Shannon Richmond, the Vice President of the Panama City Beach Chamber of Commerce. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell to get notifications of future episodes. The show is produced by 30A Media and is broadcast on your favorite podcast outlets, as well as YouTube, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TVs, and other major brand smart TVs.
Hello, I'm Rick Steiner with Steiner Event Group. Welcome to another episode of Luxe Life Discovered. My co-host today is Paul Fazard with 30A Media. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, everybody.
And our guest today is Tanarah Haney with Tanarah Luxe Floral in Little Rock, Arkansas. And so excited to have you on today, Tanarah.
Oh gosh, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Rick, Paul. Let's get it going. Let's talk.
Do it. Well, so let's talk. Okay, for those who don't know you, Tanarah is like the premier florist, I won't call it florist, floral designer in the state of Arkansas and the Mid-South. And if you've ever seen some of her work, you can't help but be impressed. So where did that vision come from?
Oh gosh, Rick, that's a question that I've wondered myself. I think it's just being a creative kid to a creative young adult to a creative adult. I've always looked for the beauty in life. I've always migrated more towards the artful way. I found floral at a very young age, 19, and was in college. I thought, gosh, this is never going to sustain my lifestyle, but oh, do I love it. And I got out of it, but it would always it would reel me back in, and I loved it. And I just learned at some point how to build a life with doing it. And it took me a while. It took me a lot of self-help books. And I got started and I trained myself, and I sought so much education in the floral arts that your mind would just go crazy. And I learned from so many people that are amazing. And I took little bits and pieces of them, kind of like how a musician does. And I built my own style based on things that they taught me. And fast forward to today, Tanarah Luxe Floral, and we're going 24 years strong. And I love every day coming into work.
So over those 24 years, I can't even imagine the changes that you've seen and the different shifts in the industry and all of that you've experienced.
Oh, yeah, lots. We saw the downturn of 2008 with the housing crisis. However, weddings did not suffer. People just really want to be in love, and they want life to go that way. And I think that's kind of beautiful. We saw the introduction of social media through my career. Back when I started, you had to do a really good job, and people had to go to an event to experience your work. These days, they can see everything without going. And it's kind of a change. Some things are for the better. Some things I'm not so sure are the best. Right. And I know we all feel that way.
Yeah.
Well, for sure, I can't smell flowers over the internet, so I bet you some of the scents and stuff that you've got going on there with some of your amazing displays, I would rather see them in person than I would look at a picture.
Oh, yes, you cannot deny an in-person event from Tanarah Luxe Floral. It's just an experience.
I was going to say, when you go to your office there in Little Rock, to your shop, it's an experience in itself. It's not going into a typical like florist. You know, it's when you walk in, it's already an experience, and just the scale of what you bring is already presented when you walk in the door.
Oh, thank you. We try really hard. You know, it's all about ideas. And we want to give you an environment where you are free to dream. So when you walk in, I always feel like you're in a jungle when you come into my store. You walk into our plant section, and there's the wonderful misters, and it feels like you're in the rainforest. And we're usually watching a beautiful film that's projected on the wall. And there's always great music. every part of Tanarah Luxe Floral is curated to highlight the senses.
And it definitely does.
Thank you.
So you actually growing on the premises, as well as actually bringing flowers in from other areas? Obviously, you can't have everything, to hand at one time.
It's a great question, Paul. I don't grow. We source everything that we can. All of our fresh flowers are sourced either from California or Mexico or South America. Is a lot of where we get our roses. And then plants come from good old Hot Springs, Arkansas. So we get all of our plants for our daily deliveries there. I like to say we're the purveyors of beautiful floral and plants and events. But growing is not my strong suit. I do garden at home, and during COVID, I, like the rest of the world, got out there with my tomatoes. I am a good Southern girl. And, but yeah, growing is a whole new art, and I'm not so sure I'm the best at it.
It's kind of like just stay with what you're good at and
That's right.
leave that to someone else. Yeah.
Great medium. And I can take what a farmer has grown, and I can take that bit of God's art, turn it into something even prettier.
Oh, most definitely at that. I've had the honor of working with Tanarah on a wedding a couple of years ago, and the wedding was supposed to have happened right at the first of COVID, and we had to postpone the wedding, and then we had to change cities and venues and everything else. And Tanarah and her team and all of our vendors in Northwest Arkansas, thank goodness, they all stayed with us. They all worked beautifully together, and you guys did such an amazing job. And that was such a treat to work with all the professionals. I mean, everybody was, I think, above the norm on that wedding.
Well, let's give you a little bit of kudos. You were a true leader, and we did so well because we had great leadership. Everybody felt respected. Everybody's time felt respected. We all went through that in the event industry, Rick, and I have nightmares from it, and I have wins and losses through that whole time. And it really did impact the event industry, I feel, the hardest, because our jobs are based on gatherings, and you just could not gather. And even if people wanted to, it couldn't happen. There was, I can remember, do you remember, Rick, when there was a bit of shaming if they gathered in a small group?
Yes.
So there was so much happening, and so much we didn't know as the world was going on. And you just came in like a breeze and made it fun, and made your client have the best event possible. And I thank you for taking us for the ride.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, like I said, all the vendors, you and your team, I mean, it was just a good mix of the better, I think, for that event. So, and something I want to talk about, and we were talking about this before we started the podcast, your Inspire Wedding Show. And then we're going to hit on some of your elaborate weddings that you've done. But the Inspire Wedding Show, Paul, for anybody that's been to a bridal show, and of course I host a couple of bridal shows, this Inspire Wedding Show is like you said, it's an immersion. It's such a unique experience because it's not a bridal show in any stretch of the imagination. It is an experience. And Tanarah was able to pull the better vendors in the state together. And it's such an amazing experience. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And so I know you say right now it may not continue, but I'm in your corner. I'll be rooting, and I'll be trying to prod you along.
It's like we were saying earlier, I love every aspect of the Inspire Wedding Show. I love giving a group of vendors a project. They would have a project to work on. I would pair them together strategically, and the beauty and the work, what they could do to work together. It's almost like the stone suit story, but that everybody brought something to the table. And what it did, it created environments that the attendee could walk through and immerse themselves, and everything had a category. So these days, we all understand about categories. Everybody loves the Enneagram. They would say you could find a bride identifying with a category. And maybe we had a category called Luxe, and she would, you could hear them talking, and she might say, well, I'm Luxe, and you're blushing bride, or whatever categories we had at the time. And it was so interesting. It takes a lot of work to do a show like that. And of course, COVID, we had to stop. And I think we were so new at getting going right before it kind of lost the momentum. And at that point, it was, let's just make sure our businesses are okay after COVID, and then we'll get back to creativity. And so when I feel like everything's stable, maybe if I'm not too old, I might bring it back.
Well, if you get an email from me or a text or a message on Instagram saying, I think it's time, you're going to know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So,
oh my Lord, I'm going to make you come here and help me.
hey, I'll be glad to. But I can't even imagine the work and the time that went into preparing for that. And then the day of, especially the first one you did in Little Rock, I'm sure that morning you woke up and thought, oh my gosh, this is it, because it was elaborate, it was fun, and it was absolutely breathtaking. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Rick. You've always been so complimentary, and I just appreciate that. I really feel so blessed to get to do what I love. So many people don't get that opportunity.
Right.
And many people close to me don't get that opportunity. So I even have to be careful about me talking about work, because every day I'm just doing something different. It doesn't feel like work. And I look up and it's 5 o'clock and I'm like, where did the time go? I feel like we just got started. I know you all feel the same.
Right. Well, and Tanarah, when a bride comes to you and the planner and they meet with you, that appointment becomes an experience in itself, because Tanarah has the ability to sketch things while you're there talking and capture and listen to what the bride's saying, capture the whole, like the feel of the event and the bride's personality, and the recommendations that you make are amazing. And it really helps the bride put into perspective what she's really trying to envision for a day. And so you do a great job in your appointments for sure.
Oh, thank you.
So does that start with budget?
No, it does not. Money ruins everything, Paul. And I want to talk about ideas. I'm an idea girl. And, always do we have to address budget. And the good news is, with social media and things that are really showing people the possibilities of what can be done, it's such a different bride than it was 10, 15 years ago. I get a bride that's more informed. They know what they want. They've seen things on social media that they can relate to, or something that's exciting to them. So what I try to do is take those, that flooding of content that happens, and I try to take what the bride is wanting to create and really tailor it to her own experience. A wedding is a very personal, individualistic thing that somebody wants to put their brand on, their style. It is usually the first party a married couple will have. And, I always say to a bride, in the nicest way, everybody says this is your wedding, and it is, but it is the first party you're hosting as a married couple. So you want your guest to feel amazing. And so let's turn, we want you to have an equal amount of attention, obviously, because you're the host, but let's turn the attention to this guest experience. And that's what I'm seeing is really changing. is that these brides and grooms are wanting to give an ultimate guest experience that personifies them as a couple to, 200, 250 of their closest friends, because they do know that that's probably the only time in their lifetime, and that's actually fact, that those people will be together, all of them again. So you might get little groups together of that same wedding party, but you've got everybody in that one room. Boy, the pressure is on. And that's what we do. We make it personal. We personalize it. I'm not looking to create the same event weekend to weekend. I want to push myself. Boy, it gets me in trouble sometimes because creatively you get spent trying to reinvent the wheel every week. But I wouldn't change it for the world. My creative life is fulfilled me in so many ways. I've got a great husband and dogs that I get to go home and share it with, and I live for these brides.
Well, and you were talking about your like creating everything. You were very creative because with your work, I don't see a trend like there's some planners, some florists you can look at and know they did it. With you, the only reason you can identify it as yours is because of the level of the scale of it and the elegance. But you are very creative, and it's not a cookie cutter look. So I mean that as a compliment. You know what I'm saying? Because
Oh, I know.
you
That's
just
such a compliment.
yeah, because you bring out the personality of the bride and what she's wanting to capture. And so during COVID, for example, the wedding that we did together, it was supposed to be like 400 and something originally, and it was cut down to 113, I think was the final number at a different location. And yet we didn't cut back on the floral budget a lot,
No.
but it was just so unique. And I think, and my point on all that is, I think during COVID, I think it kind of made us all realize smaller and the more personal aspect of it and having the right group is what it's all about. Now, don't get me wrong, you and I both like the big projects and the big weddings.
Sure.
So, yeah. But did you see that during COVID also? I mean, I thought some of the weddings were just so fun and personal and enjoyable.
I did. It's amazing how when something that horrific happens, that people find a way, and they're going to find a way to live, and they're always going to find a way to celebrate as long as the times are celebratable. And I enjoyed the more intimate wedding. I'm like, why have chicken strips when you can have Wagyu beef for 50? It's much cheaper to feed 50 people fantastic than it is 400.
Yeah.
And then really you're getting intimate experiences. And I know you experienced that, Rick, firsthand, because you planners are the ones that are at the wedding, partying with the guest as you're working, and you're really seeing that engagement. And they're really getting quality experiences. They're getting to thank each guest for coming. They're dancing with each guest.
Right.
They're talking. It's harder to do that with the larger weddings. You're barely getting, we call them a table touch, where you go in and you thank everybody at each table for attending. It's just way more intimate. I always say, who doesn't want to see their favorite band at a small venue versus a huge stadium where you're watching the musician from a jumbotron?
Right.
I hate that.
That's
So
true. Yeah.
I love a small event. And you know what? Small events don't always mean less money, especially if you want to have a luxurious event, but it is more touchable.
Right.
And I really do hope that trend stays with us.
I do too. And I knew that you and I would start talking, and we're going to, there are many things we could talk about, but I want to congratulate you on the great job that you did on Sarah Huckabee Sanders' inaugural ball.
Thank you.
So, and Paul, she also teamed up with florists from across the state and worked with them, and I mean, she was the lead person, but she organized everything, had a vision, and brought these other talented people in and worked with them. Because how many centerpieces did you guys do?
Over 300.
That's,
Wow.
yeah, isn't that crazy? Yeah. So it was, and it was over the top. It was beautiful, and kind of talk about that for a few minutes.
Oh, you're sweet. It was the highest attended inauguration that we've seen in our state in a long while. It's it's our first female governor. There
Right.
was so much excitement in the air. I was called probably about 30 days prior to and given the job. And so if
And
anybody
you're like,
worries,
thanks, but oh wow.
oh wow. And I'm like, and we're still coming off of shortages on supplies. So we're
Right.
trying to get all that in here. And it was a little bit of hustle and bustle, but we got it done. And one great thing about our governor is that she is so inclusive. I brought her the idea of bringing on all of the florists from neighboring cities and towns, because I do sometimes feel like because we're in the capital city, we get to do a lot of the big inaugurations, the balls, the things that a lot of these small towns don't ever touch or get to see. But there is so much talent in our state. And Arkansas is probably one of the most resourceful states. And so I called up a few of my friends and I said, why don't you help a girl out? Would you like to come design for our governor as part of our extended team? And I didn't get one no. They were excited. They gave every bit of that they had. These designers were people that have thriving businesses in their town. So they left their business probably with their employees. And if you know anything about small business, it's very hard for us to leave. So they really gave up their time and their service and commitment. We had the best time. It was such I don't know. We sat together at the inauguration. It's just like we bonded. And a lot of them I knew well, a lot of them I didn't know as well, but got to know. We're all now lifelong friends. I know we will be because we have this floral thing that ties us together. But we did 300 tables and it's crazy. We did it in about 3 days, and that's start to finish. And we handled everything from the linens to helping select the
Wow.
china, the place settings, the decor on the stage, the decor when you entered. So we did a lot more than just the
Just
floral.
right, right. I didn't realize that. Wow. Well, and to have 30 days, we're used to planning like 6 months to a year out. You know how that goes. And I can't imagine. We want you to do the inaugural ball. You have 30 days to do it. And then you pull all this together. It was absolutely gorgeous. And I've just seen
Thank
just
you.
a few of the pictures, but
Thank
great
you.
job.
So
And
how do you juggle, I guess is the right word to look at. So the shelf life of a particular flower is different from another, I assume, based on the ones that die in our house. And we just put them on death row basically.
you have to
But
water.
what's in season, how it goes with another plant, and how they last and how they look from day to day is a fascinating thing. How do you manage all of that at a particular time?
It's a great question, Paul. It's difficult. It's all through flower processing. I knew we were in January, so I knew the lack of, we wouldn't need the coolers that we would need if we were in, maybe like a summer month. It involved keeping the rooms very cool. So we had, and if you can remember right around the inauguration, it was unseasonably warm. So we definitely had to get everything cooled off really quick. And we had to make sure that we were cutting everything in and that it was remaining in water. Just like Rick said, you've got about 3 to 4 days that, especially at that time of year, that you can work. So it's like you're on a time limit. But we managed to do it. You might have a few flowers that fail maybe overnight after you would do your fabrication. You'd pull those out. We just come in and replace those. So we mitigated all our flower arrangements as we placed them on the table, and we all had quality control processes that we watched over, and it worked. Now July, I would have had to had semi trucks outside with refrigerating units on them, cooling all of that. So this actually worked out because you were actually able to design it, stow it, and then it went straight to the table. We weren't designing at my studio and then transporting it. And I love when we get to do that, because when you're not having to think about transport, your arrangements can get fuller and more lustrous. And, you always have to kind of bring it down when you're moving stuff in a van.
Do you have to deal with the supply chain problems, like something doesn't show up on time too? What if the inaugural thing or a wedding is on Saturday and then stuff shows up on Tuesday? That's not going to help you.
Not good. I had only one thing, which was some apple blossom seeds that we were trying to finish our job with. We gave away beautiful mint julep cups that were it had the monogram of what we were using, our logo for the governor, and we put an apple blossom seed packet in those. And I was missing over 100 apple blossom seeds that came in that day.
Yeah.
And I was sweating bullets, and I finally got it, and we got them into our mint julep cups, and no one knew, but I was in the back going, how is this?
They don't see the stress that you're going through.
Then I would tell myself, it's just seeds.
Yeah.
Is anybody going to really plant these? Did we go to the store? Could we get some tomato seeds? Would they know? Little
It's like
inside.
these apple trees look like tomatoes. That's weird. Yeah.
I know. I'm like, it's a tomato, plant it.
Right. So what do you see the trends for 2023 and flowers and for weddings? What?
I'm so excited you asked me about it, because I cannot wait to say color, and
Good.
more
Yes.
color. I tell you, brides are not afraid. You will have your traditionalists who always love white, and that's great because you could look back on that in 30, 40 years and your wedding will always look timeless. But with all the immersion of content, brides are not afraid to bring in color, great texture. We're still seeing tropical foliages used with good old southern roses and peonies. And I think that's a wonderful juxtaposition that I've seen over the last 5 years that's not going away.
Right.
Loving it. Everything is very bespoke. Everything is very customized now.
Well, I think even with wedding gowns, we're going to be surprised, so that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how accepted that is, because there are some brides that are wanting to be bold and not have the traditional white, and there are some that I've seen some gowns that are gorgeous. So it's going to be it's going to be an interesting year all the way around. So.
Oh, I think so. I'm here for it.
Well, good. Yeah, there's so many things you and I could cover. You did a wedding at Crystal Bridges, was it 2 years ago? That was just the cherry blossom trees and absolutely over the top. I was going to say one of your best, but I don't know if that's true or not, because there's so many, one of the best, so yeah.
It was gorgeous. How could that not be so pretty? That venue is insanely gorgeous. Alice Walton has outdone herself again.
No
and
doubt.
West Arkansas just blazes that trail. But I got a little secret.
What's that?
I've gotten to view our wonderful art center in Little Rock, Rick.
Have you really?
Oh, you all, just you wait. It's going to be an amazing, amazing venue for weddings.
And when does that open? That's going to be 24, right?
No, that's actually opening up this year.
Okay.
We have the second wedding there, which will happen August the 5th. Going to be a gorgeous wedding. You're going to want to look out for that.
Awesome.
We've got a really good concept going there. Think mid-century, 60s modern.
Really?
I'm telling
See, I
you.
love this excitement because
Oh,
this way
listen.
Tanarah gets into her
Oh, I
her
know. I just
mindset
love it.
there.
Well, I was just there yesterday, and I've been posting. I've been reposting some of the things they're posting. They're already starting to get the art in and the sculptures. And from somebody that has worked at our art center for years, it went away while they were doing the renovation for so long. So she's back, and
Oh,
she's
that's
better than
great.
ever. And Rick, you're going to just fall apart when you see it.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Well, Tanarah, thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. It's always great to visit with you. Share your website and your link with
Certainly.
our viewers and listeners.
Be happy to. We are at tanarahluxefloral.com, and that's Lux with an E, just like you guys have spelled it, Lux Life. I love that. And you can find us on social media on Instagram. Our handle is Tanarah Luxe Floral. Also on Facebook. I don't do the Twitter thing.
I don't, or the TikTok. I'm too, it's like I'm good with what I do, but let's not push it.
Rick, we're in the visual business,
That's
so
right. Well, thank you again, and tell Stephen thanks for helping get everything set up. And we didn't talk about this, but the team that you have working with you, I mean,
yeah.
they're phenomenal too. So we can't forget about them as well.
Well, we'll have another episode, and
Well, we'll have to. We could.
Y'all
Yes,
need to
we
have
will.
an episode and get
Yeah.
Stephen on. Stephen's been a creative director with Tanarah Luxe Floral for 17 years now.
I didn't realize they've been that long. Gosh, yeah.
He puts up with me, and
Well, you guys make a great team. So
we enjoy each other.
well, thank you so much, and that concludes our episode of Lux Life Discovered. Thanks for joining us.
Don't forget to subscribe.
No,
right?
I'm going
You gotta
to.
hit the subscribe
And be
button.
sure to hit the subscribe button. Also, comment
Yes.
about
Yeah.
if you want to touch base with Tanarah, have a question for Tanarah. Be sure to leave that question. Also, leave in the comment where you're from that you're listening to the podcast. So, thank you.
Paul, Rick, thank you guys again. Y'all are doing a great job for the event industry.
Well, thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you.
Check out Lux Life Discovered on Facebook and Instagram and on 30a.tv. See you next time on Lux Life Discovered.